Rutland's recent webinar on dual certification testing was very well attended, and our panel of industry experts received so many questions that we couldn't answer them in the time allotted. If you didn't catch the original webinar, you can view it at the link on your screen now. The webinar confirmed what we have been hearing from our customers, that there is definitely ongoing confusion over dual certification testing out there. We're keen to help unravel this topic for our customers, so as promised at the webinar, here are Rutland's Rhonda Hughes and Jake Martin with answers to some of the questions that we didn't have time to cover on the day. The first question is from David Brown, who asks, can we have clarification that tests can be from different bodies, but certification has to be from one body? Over to Rutland's Jake Martin.
Our Testing and Compliance Director, Neil Smith, has the answer to this. In his words, tests can be from different bodies, whether it's fire or security. As long as the spec is the same, testing from multiple test labs can be submitted to a UCAS accredited body with an enhanced security scheme. That certification body can then write one dual report to back a third-party dual certificate from one body. People tend to confuse testing and certification. They're two separate things, the only link being that the testing underpins the certification. SPD, or Secure by Design, requirement is that dual certification must be issued by one certification body. Dual testing used for this certification can be from multiple test bodies.
Next, this question from Michael Rooney. Will acoustic requirements come into the overall package of testing? Rhonda has an answer from the panel.
From a Secure by Design point of view, Richard Bates says they don't require acoustic for their overall package. However, there is scope for BS 6375 Part 3 to include acoustic performance. Whilst it's not a requirement of SPD, Chris Houchen says it could be included in a dual summary report if required, providing suitable test evidence is available on an identical door set. Andy Davis says he does not see acoustic coming in to SPD requirements, but it will come into play for UKCA or CE marked door sets, as will other performance criteria under EN 14351 Part 1 external door sets and EN 14351 Part 2 internal door sets. External CE marking is already with us. Who knows when the internals will finally come in online, if they do at all.
Peter Clifton from the British Woodworking Federation asks, secured by design, whilst smoke control is increasingly important and something door manufacturers are testing their doors to and being certified to, why have secured by design decided that it must be part of dual certification and that it be mandatory?
Well, Alfie Hosker, our panellist from Secured by Design, says quite simply, we should have included smoke leakage when we first looked at fire performance.
Wayne Humphreys wants to know, does Secured by Design have any plans to include the installation as part of the guidance? It's great to have a fantastic door set, but it can still be poorly installed.
Again, Alfie Hosker says, we recommend within our guidance that a door set, for example, should be installed by a qualified installer. We also make reference that the door set must be installed in line with the fabricator's instructions. At this moment in time, we don't have plans to make this a formal requirement.
Edward Hickland asks, in some cases where you have an apartment front door and an inner lobby door, they're so well sealed that it's difficult to close and open the doors. Have you experienced this, and is there a solution?
Good question. Our compliance specialist Neil says, yes, airlocks are a challenge that we've come across. It seems to have increased since the Grenfell disaster. Whether this is due to the insistence on 3mm gaps by some building control people, and maybe combined with door manufacturers adding excessive smoke seals, it is difficult to tell. The smaller the airlock or lobby, the harder it is to close the door. As a solution, we would recommend power adjustable closers rather than a fixed power size, meaning the fitter has more scope to increase the power. Also, go for the biggest power size possible. For example, one that goes up to a power size 5. In some situations, air transfer grills connected to smoke alarms may be needed. These can be costly, and we recommend contingency is built into budgets and professional advice is sought from experts in fire and smoke air transfer.
Mohammed Newman would like to know, why does no certification body mention in their certificate the use of fire seal or silicon seal in the test specimen? I think it's an important aspect left out in the certification information. What do you guys think?
Neil answers this. Third-party certification of the door set is about the door set, not its installation. Third-party installation certification schemes are separate. As Alfie Hosker said to an earlier question, we recommend you go by manufacturer's installation manuals and the field of application or dual summary report. These documents specify installation is carried out to national standards such as BS 8214.
Adam Hickinson has this point about custom steel doors. I work for Robust. We manufacture custom steel door sets. If we test a door for fire and security, some of the components help in security but make fire more onerous, or vice versa. This would make it almost impossible to have assessments done to meet further specifications that are slightly outside of the tested scope, i.e. change handle to meet the customer spec, or remove handle to meet spec. We would need to have an assessment or test done on both fire and security for anything outside of the initial test. This method is fine for stock doors or composite front doors, which rarely change, but in the real world of custom steel doors, we would never be able to meet specification as two orders are never the same. It's a big worry. The general consensus in the steel door industry is that dual certification is a complete waste of time for custom steel doors.
Alfie Hosker actually answered this in the Rutland Dual Certification Unravelled webinar. You can hear the full answer at the link on the screen, but basically he advised that where you have bespoke applications, it's best to speak to various people on the certification schemes. Yes, there are issues, but they can be overcome.
Mirza Shiraz Hussain asks, how many hours of fire protection does a door need to provide, and against which tool, explosives or torch, for the door to be acceptable?
Neil Smith answers this. Explosive, or what we call blast-proof doors, would need a split second of heat, stroke fire resistance, but excessive resistance to the actual blast. So the strength of the door set would be the most important factor, whereas torches or normal flame would require anything from 30 minutes up to 4 hours protection, depending on the risk level. The higher the risk or the longer the protection required, the higher the integrity asked for. Each country and region would have its own bylaws or mandatory requirement for the level of risk.
And our last question from M. Pilkington. Is cascaded security test evidence from the system house acceptable for certification?
Our technical expert, Neil Smith, says, Secure by Design isn't a certification scheme, and FBD maintains it's for each certification body to decide what they are happy with within their scheme rules. A system house undertaking full security testing for a dual certificated system can, in Rutland's opinion, cascade dual test evidence, but it is an SBD requirement for each fabricator producing security doors to then maintain a third-party certification by doing an annual audit past 24 security tests. Annual audit testing is to prove door sets coming off a production line are still providing the original integrity of the system. Secure by Design back this up with their response, which we put on the screen for ease.
Thanks to our experts on the panel and everyone else for their interaction on this webinar. Some really interesting questions there, and we hope we've been able to clarify a few things. We know from working closely with our clients that this can be a challenging area to navigate, so we're always happy to share our expertise and experience where we can. We hope you found it useful, and please keep an eye out for future webinars. You can sign up for updates at the address on the screen below. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.